Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we'll see how to configure and run the test cases. So in the last video, just we checked, we just created the folders and we created the package as well. So basically, the structure was built for the project. Now we need to understand what exactly our first test case will, how we'll approach that test case, and as well as we will see how to configure the complete process that everything works in a proper sequence. So now my test case here is very simple. This is my test case. Now this is a test case written in the manual phase. I'm doing this in automation. So in manual, like 4 test cases are written first where I'm passing the right credentials. So based on that, user should actually log in and the expected result is pass. Second case where you can't log in because you have not entered the right credentials. And in third and fourth case is the same. So if you read these test cases, you'll get an idea what exactly I'm trying to say. So I'm trying to create 4 different test cases, and in 4 test cases we'll pass 4 different values. So right now I'll focus just in the simple scenario where I will open the website. So this is the website that I'm going to test. This is the website link. And in this, what I'm going to do, just when you click on this image icon, then it takes to the login page. Here, enter your credentials, enter your password, and then click the sign in button. So it's very simple. Very easy step just to do login. Now let's get back to our Eclipse and start the configuration process. So now the next thing. So this is our Eclipse. So everything is configured. Now what's next? So first, let's create a configuration file. So why configuration file? To enter the browser details and to pass the website link. So this is the configuration folder. Just do right click, go to new. From new, go to the file option. And you remember I just mentioned that when we are creating a configuration file, we add dot properties to the extension. Remember this. And dot properties is extension for creating the configuration file, or basically the properties file. So here I do finish. Now here I'll pass 2 details. One is browser is equals to Chrome. For the timing, I keep it as Chrome. And next one will be for URL. And the URL will be the website link. That is this. So right now I'm just putting these 2 informations here. And later we'll see if more information is needed, we will add. So config.properties file is created. The details are passed. Now let's go to utilities. So this is a part of utilities. So that's for this config properties, we'll create a class because this is a file. And to read a file, we need to create a class because values will pass through the classes and object. So in this utilities, I'm going to create a class and name this class as config data provider. Yeah, config data. Config data class. Yeah. And here I'll create an constructor for this public with the same name. So I'm creating a constructor because the details of file we need to pass in the constructor itself. Now, because to read a file, you need to use the file. Basically, we are going to create an object of file, and in this file, we'll pass the location of our folder. So how to pass the location? So I'll write the folder name, that is configuration. Dot forward slash configuration takes the beginning and the starting point. After that, give config dot properties. Now by doing this, I've just passed the location of this file. Now because file is defined in Java, so I just need to import that, and these are defined. Now the next thing, that is file input stream. For that, I'll create an object. Now you know the users of file input stream. If not, then it's used to read the file. And when you are reading any type of files, we need this file input stream class. That's very important. So you have to import that. Once this is done, now here you have to pass this file src. Now here you need to add throw and catch to this particular method, or you can straight away add file not found exception. I'll go with try and catch because that gives me more options. And here in catch, I'll write, instead of file not found, I'll write exception. Now everyone will say why I'm writing exception, because right now this particular scenario will catch file not found exception, but in other scenarios it will find exceptions, or it will find the exception class if I put the exception class. So this will take care of all the exceptions that comes across. Now the file input stream we have read. Now because we are reading a properties file, so here I'll go with the properties class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define this properties outside the constructor, and I will load this file to this properties. So just to load this, I'll write here inside the try itself pro dot load. Now that's the reason I put this. I put the exception. The exception, I have not taken the exception as file not found, because if something goes wrong with this pro dot load, then this exception will take care of both. So that's the simple reason. Now you need to initialize this property as well. So just you need to create an object of this property. So you can create in the very first line before this. Now done. So pro dot load dot fetch. So basically this, the value that you have passed in the constructor section, this will read the file and this will load the file to the properties section. So basically by creating the object of the properties, this the file is loaded to this properties. Now what's next? Now here we need to create two methods to basically fetch the first browser details. That's one. And next one, the method we have to create to get the URL details, because once this URL and browser details are fetched, then these details we are going to pass to know which particular driver I'm looking for. So here I'll pass in this get browser URL here, because the return type is string. So I'll return pro dot get property, and in this get property, you need to pass the same name of browser as you have defined here. This is browser. If you have defined in lowercase, copy it same from config.properties and paste it here, the same thing. Now, usually while writing, we put a random name thinking that, okay, this is browser. So we put a random. Keep in mind the way you have written the browsers here, write the same way here itself, and do the same thing with the next one as well. Get property, and this time you have to pass the URL name that will be same as it is defined here. So if it's defined as URL, take the same, put it here the same, and then also in double quotes, because here we are returning the values in form of string. So I hope this section is clear. Now this is the config data class, and this is what we are configuring. We are configuring the file. So first we created an properties. Basically, I'm using the properties class. In this section, in the constructor, I read the file. Using properties, I loaded the file. And once it's loaded, so using this property object, I'm calling the get property method. I read the value from the browser. Again, using this pro, I call the get property method. I read the URL. So both the details, I'll get it through from get browser and get URL. Now let me create a base class. So this base class is needed because in this base class, here you can say it's a connectivity to connect all. So in base class, the class is defined in utilities. We can create objects here, and using that object, we can call the methods inside that classes and use it in different packages, or we can pass it to different packages. We'll see that. So let me create a new class here and name it as base class. Now just understand the flow of code. Once you get the flow of code, you'll find it very easy. Right now you'll say that, okay, I'm creating. So that's why I'm going with that sequence. I'm following things step by step so you don't get confused with anything. Just follow the sequence, and at the end, you'll get to know what exactly we are achieving through this. So first, what you have to do, first I will do create an object of this class, config data provider class, because I have to define this class in the base class. So in future, if I need anything from here, I will get it from the base class itself. So I just give the name as con is equals to new. So I've created the object. Now just import this class here. Done. Now this is created. We need to have two sections. Now we are using TestNG here. So you have heard about the before class and before after class annotation. So before class and after class annotation to execute a step before execution of a class or after the execution of class. If you want to add any steps, you'll be adding it here itself. Now in this setup, you have to call basically when you're doing a setup. If you know in before class, what we do, we define the driver related details in setup. That's what we do in before class. Basically, we put the driver related details. Now the thing is, where are these details of driver? Which driver to go for, which not to go for? These details where it is. So in setup, we need to go. So from here, we'll call a method where I'll pass the details like as common. We define the web driver. You have used when you're learning Selenium or when you're learning Selenium. I'm quite obvious that you have written this step multiple times, like web driver is equals to new Chrome driver, like these steps, or web driver is equals to new Firefox driver. So the same thing we'll do in systematic manner. Now here I'll create a class in utilities and I'll name that class as Browserfactory. So I name a class in utilities, naming it as Browserfactory class. Okay, great. No, we don't need this public static void main. Cool. Now here in Browserfactory class, just create a method. So I will create a static method. Now there is reason behind creating a static method. So if I want to call something straight away from a particular class, I will use the static method. So I write static method, and the return type of this method, I keep it WebDriver, because every time when I call this method, then it should return me the driver related details. So that's why I've kept the return type as WebDriver. Now, while starting an application, the details will be like, first I will need the driver related details. That's fine. The second thing, I need the browser name, which particular browser you are going to use. And the third thing is the URL, which particular URL you are going to pass here. These details I'll pass to this method. Now, these details, like again, I said driver is equals to new Chrome driver. So basically you need to initialize value to the driver. So you need to write this step. But when you are passing the values, no one knows that which particular driver you will pass here. You look for the Chrome driver, you look for Firefox, you look for IE, which one? No one knows. So for this, I will write a if condition, and in if condition, I'll define that if browser dot equals, browser dot equals, that is equals to Chrome. Sorry, it's browser dot equals Chrome. Then in that case, provide the Chrome setup. Now here comes the use of WebDriver. So WebDriver manager, WebDriver manager dot Chrome driver dot setup. So this will take the Chrome driver setup, and the value that it returns, I'll store it here saying that new Chrome driver. That's all. So this is for Chrome driver. Same way, I'll write for, I copy this if condition below, I write it here, and I make it as else if, and this time I'm writing for Firefox. Now I'll keep it in small. Usually we do mistake while copying. And when in place of Chrome driver setup, this time I'll call Firefox driver setup and change the name of the class to Firefox driver. Sorry, this F will be in small. Firefox driver. Now import this. Same way do for Edge. Paste it here. Change the name to IE. Change this Firefox to Edge driver and change the name to Edge driver. That's all. Done. So the setup for all these three sections are done. So based on it condition, the value that you pass, based on that, that particular driver will execute. Now, if all of this is not working, or if none of these conditions are correct, so in that case, write else condition saying that and pass a print line for the coder to understand that no browser is supportable. There is supportable. That's all. Gone. Done. So this was the else condition. This is a thing that you have to add. You have to pass the values, relate it, compare the values, and accordingly execute the one. Now, let's write few more steps. So where we'll call the get method. Before doing that, I'll maximize the windows so that you'll not have problem in seeing the Windows screen. Now the second thing, right? Again, driver dot get, and in get method, you will pass the URL. That's for kind. Now the next step from here will be, don't forget to add this thing, manage dot timeout dot implicity wait. And I hope you know the use of this implicit wait, why I'm asking you to add this. In seconds, it will be better. Sorry, it's time unit. Time unit dot seconds. So it's compulsory add this implicit wait just to avoid any type of hole in your code, or if somewhere it's required, this thing will be applied straight away. Now this method here, return type is web driver. So at end, once everything is done, just write return type as driver. So whichever driver you pass, that driver it will return. That's how we configured the browser factory. And in this setup, just what you have to do, right? Driver is equals to, just write. And here, in this case, what you have to do, just pass, use the Browserfactory class and call the method start application. Now here, first pass the driver. Second, you need to pass the, now you see here, this Browserfactory, the start application is looking for three values, one for driver, another one for browser, and the last one for URL. So here you need to pass the browser. So how you will get the browser? The browser method is in ConfigDataProvider class. That's ConfigDataClass. So from there, using this object, I will call getBrowser. This will give me the browser. And same for this, I'll do config.getURL. And this will give me the URL. So the browser and URL both will be fetched from the config file and it will pass to the start application. That's all. So this will help us to understand that which particular browser we want, which URL we are passing, all of this. Now, just to see everything is working in proper sequence, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a class and name this class as LoginTest. That's our next test case. So I'll name this class as LoginTest. Right now, I'm not writing codes for this. And I'll create a method here with name as public void verify. That's all. And because I'm using the test ng here, so I will add the test annotation as well. So once this is added, now right now I have not wrote any test case, so don't worry. I'm not writing any test case. I'm just showing the process is set up, everything is done or not, and just I'll show you how it executes. And one more thing, what I'll do here is I will extend the base class. Now you'll say why to extend the base class? You'll see the users in the upcoming sections. So base class will help us to pass all the data of drivers and all that's there in base class. So I can easily get these details. So basically if I extend, so when I'm extending, that means I'm doing inheritance. So this will allow me to use everything from there. All done, setup done, everything done. Just for checking, let's check whether this thing is executing fine or not, or the complete setup is done. Is it opening the website link or not? Just let's do that. Okay, here it says something that void.testrunner. Okay, it says it's a problem with something with the driver. Just check. Let's check this. Now, small changes you have to do here is that in TestNG, what I did, I am using the latest version 7.9. Let's take an older version that is 7.8. It was because the driver that the Selenium which I'm using 4.18, that's one less than the current version. So for TestNG, I should do the same. I should take a version less than that. Usually, sometimes it matters. Now, when I run this case, this time, you'll see you'll see a new page opening. That's the Chrome driver. See, this opens. Now let's run this again. So you'll be able to see this complete thing. Let's click on run as. Now you see it opens the website. That means the setup is fine. Everything is working fine. I have not used the close one, so it's not closing on its own. Now, few things that everyone has to follow, or the few things where usually you do errors is first, the file location. This should be the same as it is here. Just check this. Is it the same location, same process, same folder name, same file name? That's one thing. Next thing is that you need to check is in get browser, the name of browser, get properties, that browser name that you are passing, it's same as you have defined here. And same with the URL thing. And one last thing that you have to check is in config.properties, you have written browser is equals to Chrome. So when you are writing this browser factory if method or if condition, so here you need to check the value that you have passed, that's same or not. So if it's not same, you will have errors in those cases as well. It will give you driver returns null. So when it returns this thing like driver returns null, then check whether these details you have passed it right or not. If these type of error occurs, then check, because usually people get these errors. So while just going through this, we have seen that how we have configured things. I'm not going for the login code right now. We will do this login code in next video. So I just keep it till here where I've done the configuration where all every folders and I'm able to open the website link. That's the first step. Next step will be login where we'll be using the frameworks thing, the page object model. So I'll talk about the page object model as well there. So that's all in this video. See you in next video. Till then, bye bye. Thank you.